Welcome back to the Georgia Show. Bill, I'm ready to drop some truth bombs today. What do you think?
My word is boom.
I think it's coming. So we're brought to you by the Georgia Record, georgiarecord.com. I need all of you to please put the Georgia Record and cdm.press in your daily scan. Check us, give us some traffic. That's what we need right now. And sign up for our no-ad subscriptions. It is one of the best tools we have to get access to all of your news. I constantly get emails and reader comments like, I just love scrolling around between the different sites and not having ads pop up on my phone. It's very good. I can get my good news that way and stay within the network and not have to deal with advertisements. It's $10 a month or $100 a year. Great way to support free media. Leave a legacy to your grandchildren, and a great way to do that. Bill, we got a crazy show today. What's coming?
Well, we're kind of all over the place. We're going to hear from David Cross in just a couple of minutes. Take a look at what's going on across several of the races coming up to the state convention, and then look at some of the odd stuff that just keeps bubbling up. You know, things not being answered. The theme for today's show is going to be secrets.
Cool.
They have a funny way of hanging around until they're discovered, and then guess what? They go away. And so we seem to have a lot of secrets that are bubbling up right now that we're not sure whether we'll get answers instantly, but we're going to ask the questions. So we'll go through that. And then you have a fascinating interview with Dr. James Thorpe, I understand.
Yes, it's one of my best. I really enjoyed talking with this guy. He's just a straight shooter, no BS, and just gets down to the brass tacks on the vaccine and other issues. I think that's maybe the second half of the show, so stick around for that. I want to give one shout out to one of our partners, What Finger News. They have one of the best aggregator sites out there, and it's not, they don't list it. They give a lot of insight into each story, so you can pick and choose what you want. But we're going to be doing more things with them. They're posting a lot of our content, so just want to give them a shout out. What Finger News? It's whatfinger.com. Check it out and put that in your daily scan too. Back to you, Bill.
Well, that sounds fascinating. So in the last few days, a very interesting video has come out that is targeted and talking about and with the grassroots across Georgia. Let me start with that, and then we will welcome David Cross in.
David Cross is someone who has gotten things done. That's what we need more of as fighters that can fight for the people.
We've got to include people from other groups out there. We've got to think bigger. We've got to be more inclusive.
It's we, the people,
who want inclusion.
We need somebody we can trust.
The grassroots needs to be listened to a whole lot more.
The inclusion of the grassroots is extremely important.
Everything starts at the grassroots.
What I see is leadership that is failing our candidates, failing the grassroots, and they're shamed for supporting people like Charlize Byrd and Colton Moore, failing to deliver the victories that we need in Georgia.
David Cross has new ideas to engage the grassroots.
What I'm looking to try and do is to reinvigorate this organization, makes them want to be part of something that's bigger and better and bolder.
The way it's structured today is more like an elite country club.
The elites. The elites are the people that don't want transparency, the good old boys.
There is unfortunately a tendency within the party to be somewhat clubby.
Typically when we hear unity, we hear the establishment telling us to fall in line.
David Cross is a businessman. He's an outsider to the political establishment.
David is committed to the team.
Now, if I wanted to go to the Laura Trump event, we're going to have to come up with another $500 plus $500 so that we can have tickets to go to this event. I think that's absurd. And I think it's a little bit elitist.
They don't have that extra money to get involved.
You know, that's not accessible for a lot of people. I've got a lot of growth plans, and appreciating the grassroots, we have to have accessible events. We can have 1,000 people at them.
He wants to include us all in the fun stuff that has been reserved for just the establishment elites.
He will make sure that we, the grassroots, are heard.
We need minority outreach, and we don't need to just talk about it, we need it to happen.
David is going to be the chairman who is committed to going out and increasing the minority participation.
I am Chinese American. I strongly endorse David Cross.
I'm voting for David Cross.
I'm grassroots, and I'm for David Cross.
David Cross. David Cross.
David Cross is our man.
I'm done with politics as usual.
Well, David, welcome to the show. And wow, what a fantastic video.
Yeah, that was powerful. The first time that my video guy Ty shared that with me, I literally had a tear rolling down, out of my eye. There were so many people that responded and said, "I want to be there. I want to help out." And there's a lady that's at the end that's outside, and her name, she's from Taiwan, and when she immigrated here, she changed her name, right? And she changed it to Lusa, Lusa, and that means loves USA. So that just, every time I think about that, I mean, there's people out there that are fighting, man, and I love every one of them that have reached out.
So we're 2 weeks away from the state convention as we sit here today. Actually, 1 day less than that. How are you feeling? What are you hearing? What are people saying? So forth. I know you've gone now to many places all over the state.
Yeah. So here's where I'm at. I think we're going to win. I think we're going to win. I don't mean to be brash when I say this, but I think we're going to wipe the floor with Josh McCoon. He is scrambling right now. Every time we talk about money, he gets upset. And there's the detractors that are out there that are saying, he self-reported that he spent money on the company card, and he self-reported, he turned it in, he reimbursed, he did everything. Bull, right? I'm the one that found those things, and the thing that the people out there need to understand is that if you are the CEO or the chairman of an organization, and you accidentally use the company credit card once or twice or however many times, in this case, I think we're up to 13 times now. But if you do it once, you should call an executive committee meeting to make your executive committee aware that this has happened, how it happened, why it happened, and how it's never going to happen again. And there's been zero communication out of Josh McCoon, and it's embarrassing. So I think people are fed up with this. I think that they also see that the fact that he paid $21,000 in severance to his best friend. I think people are sick of that, and I think people feel like it's time to take back their party.
Well, he called it severance. The person we're talking about, Travis Bowden, called it a Christmas bonus. So you can't be both. So that just the fact that they were explaining it in two different ways says, wait, something's wrong. And
in the history of my career of working for 35 years or 34 years, I have never seen a situation where somebody worked in an organization for 12 months and then got 2.5 months severance plus a Christmas bonus 6 months after they were gone. It only happens in politics.
Of course. So in talking to folks, are they getting it, and are they willing, and are they going, as far as you can tell, to the convention? Are they ready to take action, no matter what that means, standing vote or clicker vote or whatever?
Yeah, I think so. I think there's a lot of people that are going to be coming to this convention. People understand that it was rigged, to put it up in the 14th district. That's Josh McCoon's stronghold. But there's some people up there like Roy Hambrick that are making a huge dent in making sure that the truth is heard up there. Throughout the state, the message has been very clear. When I walk out of a room, frequently the room has been seated with a bunch of McCoon people. I go into these things not having called anybody, right? I want the truth when I go to these things. He seeds the events, with bringing people from all over creation to, drags them out there and has them clap extra loud and all that kind of thing. And you can tell. I mean, you can tell it's political pandering. Yeah. But when I'm done with a lot of these events, when I'm walking out, there's people that have McCoon stickers on. I'll still go over and talk with them, and they frequently tell me, hey, when I came in, they slapped this thing on me, but my vote's for you. I'm hearing that everywhere. My gravest concern is that there are people that have been disenfranchised in southern Georgia that are going to have to drive a long way, to get there to be able to cast their vote for me. Mm-hmm. And and one of the things I'm doing right now is I've been very blessed with raising a lot of money. And in some cases, with folks that are having a hard time, I'm offering them, like a gas scholarship, or for a couple of young Republicans out there, I've offered, to pay their fees to be able to attend the convention, because as you know, I want to do a young Republican scholarship program.
Mhm.
And what better way to to pave that path than for me to offer that scholarship. So
Yeah.
the convention cost is $150. It's a money making proposition for the Georgia GOP. It shouldn't be. It should be a business function of the Georgia GOP.
Yep.
It shouldn't take 3 days. It should be handled more efficiently. And it's like it's 1965 at the Georgia GOP.
And especially since they put it up in the corner of the state where it costs not just the fees to attend, but for most people it's a hotel, probably 2 nights of a hotel maybe, and travel and time and everything else.
You're talking $500 or more.
Probably, yeah.
It's a bunch of money for people to go. And one of the issues that we have going to Dalton, there's not a lot of availability of hotels. When I become chairman, our first convention, I don't think it's going to be next year, it'll be the year after. I'd like to see it, like right here in Gwinnett at the Gas South Arena. It's fairly central. It's nothing's perfect, but I'll tell you what, there's at least 25 hotels around. There's a lot of different food choices for people. There's a lot of different hotel choices for people. And when we do it, we're going to make that convention. I'm going to be looking to see if we can cut the fees in half, because I think that it should be totally accessible for anybody to come.
Yeah. One of the other dynamics that we've seen over the last few days too is there seem to be some games afoot. And that was part of our title for the show today. I wanted to talk about one of those to head off the problem and let you discuss your findings on this. So this has been reported. Whoops, hang on. Let's get it back here. There it is. So this has been reported in the last 24, 48 hours that text messages are going out to folks. They look like they might be coming from you or your campaign asking about people's intentions. But this isn't you, is it?
No, this is not me. So just to be perfectly clear with anybody who didn't hear that the first time, it's not me. I'm not running a text campaign. Everything that I'm running is email. And I would suggest that when you get this message, you need to click stop, and then you should get an opt-out message. And I would love for you, if you do this, to screenshot it and send it to me. I think it might say Landmark Communications on it. If you do hit stop, I'm not sure. I want to find out where this is coming from, but this is definitely not me. We do not have a texting campaign.
Yep. And you also should not answer it. Is that correct?
The only thing you should type is the word stop.
Yeah, all caps, STOP. And the reason, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the reason I believe that this might be being done is to try to gauge the amount of support that is for you as we stand here. We're still 2 weeks ahead, but they appear already to be getting nervous about how many folks intend to support you. And they're trying to gauge that so they know how to counter it in whatever way they intend. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I mean, here's the thing. I think that Josh McCoon thought that I was going to be some throwaway, disposable candidate that he would easily be able to just, sweep me under the rug. And it's not turned out that way. It's been, I got to tell you, it's been a grueling, ride around all over creation around the state. I wasn't able to go to Waycross yesterday because I've got to care for my mother-in-law, and had to go out and visit with her. So it's a challenge, getting all of this done. I want to be everywhere. But what was really interesting was the Waycross event yesterday. It should have been, it should have been a very successful, event in a restaurant, kind of thing. And the next thing we know, I'm getting telephone calls before it begins that Josh has, seated the room with a ton of people. Buddy Carter is there because Buddy Carter has endorsed him. Buddy Carter's made a mistake, doing that. And, I think it's really interesting how many endorsements that weak candidates seek. I'm not seeking endorsements. I mean, I think it's wonderful if I get them, but I kind of take the same approach as President Trump. I'm not seeking endorsements.
David, you don't want to be head of the Georgia Republican Party?
No, I do not. I do not. I don't want to be head of the Georgia Republican Party. I just listen. I just want to be a voice for the people. And if there's any kind of endorsements that are out there, it's just like the ones that you saw in that video, where it's everyday people, it's everyday patriots. I don't need celebrities, endorsing me. That's what weak candidates do, and Josh is a weak candidate.
Well, and think about the games that Harris played during her campaign, and they backfired on her in many cases. But she would have an announced rally or whatever she was calling it, and then Beyonce is going to be there and she'll be endorsing me and blah 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 blah. In a number of cases, I think there were 2 here in Atlanta. The person may have shown up, done something quickly, and then left.
Right.
And people got upset. They thought they were coming to a free concert because they weren't really even interested in the politics. And they find out, wait a minute, this was all a setup.
Right.
And you add that to the concerns that have really bubbled up this past session about the intent and the wherewithal of our legislators and also our extended legislators in Congress. You have to start asking yourself, well, great, these people are endorsing McCune, but is that who we care about? Or is it our neighbors that are saying, how in the heck do we pass this crazy pesticide bill? And
Right.
how in the heck do we get this tort reform thing passed, even though we were screaming and yelling at our legislators not to do this? So again, it comes down to, who really is controlling the future here? Is it the people, which it's supposed to be, is the last time I looked at the Constitution, or is it these guys with, that apparently seem to think they're celebrities and whatever I say is what you should do.
Yeah,
Mr. Public.
I think it's really interesting. I think if we tally up the cost, of doing this campaign, it's not going to surprise me if Josh, tops like $50,000 or $60,000 or more, for a volunteer position. That doesn't make any sense to me. For my purposes, I haven't even really done any kind of fundraising. I've had a couple friends that have reached out and said, hey, I want to help support you and that kind of thing. And what can I do? And last time I checked, I think we raised like $12,000. I'm pretty sure I'm not even going to spend all of that. There's no need to spend all of that. I mean, you've got gas money, you have email, cost. I mean, Josh is doing these stupid things like sending out postcards to people. It's just
sending out 4-page flyers on cardstock with varnished 4-color process.
Yeah, and I think that those were actually charged to the Georgia GOP. I think that $19,000 was charged for those things. I'm still looking into that right now, but those things were paid for by the Georgia GOP. They had him all over the place. But I will tell you this: on the campaign trail, like in the last week or so, it's interesting. My message about how much money has been raised and how much money we can raise, I've really drilled into that quite a bit, and I'm coming up with something called the $20 1% plan. Or the $20 1% initiative. And what that is if we can get 1% of Republicans across the state to give $20 a month, that's roughly 20,000 people times $20. That's $400,000 a month coming in. That's nearly $5 million before you go out and ask for the big gifts or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
And the other side is laughing at that. President Trump didn't laugh at that. And the people that are out there, that know how things work, they understand that is totally possible. And as I've been drilling into that, I've been making light of the fact that, Josh is out there saying that he raised $3 million in the last 2 years. 1 million of the 3 was from Kelly Loeffler. So he really is able to claim credit for 2 million. And that is a ridiculously small amount of money for the 8th largest economy in the United States of America. It's a laughable rounding error. We are capable of so much more. And so this past week, Josh began, telling a fib and saying that he raised and spent $23 million. Well, it's kind of like that Clinton thing, it depends on how you define the word is, in this case, it's raised. How do you define the word raised, And for a politician, raised, it just means any money that came into the bank account. Doesn't matter whether he was responsible for it or not. So he's claiming credit for the money that Trump set in. And he's saying it was $23 million. And I'm at the point right now where I'm just going to start saying, Josh is lying his ass off, right? Kind of a play on words there.
So, David, I just got off a European show a few minutes ago, and the talk was about scales falling off the eyes of people and seeing what's actually happening. Are you seeing that in Georgia? I've got a lot of emails in the last 3 months or so from old establishment, not really establishment, but Reagan Republicans, older people who just don't have an idea of what's really happening, and they just support Republicans. So are you seeing an awakening in Georgia, I guess is the question.
Yeah, what's really exciting right now is the under 35 crowd is much bigger than the baby boomers. The baby boomers, my parents were baby boomers. They've passed away now. The baby boomers are dying off, and the largest population cohort that's out there right now is the under 35 crowd. They're growing. They're interested. They're upset with not having a voice. They are keenly aware of the fact that they're being told, "Oh, hey, you want to get involved in coming to the party? You need to wash dishes for a long time." And that's another thing. I mean, even Betsy Kramer this past week was saying, "Oh, you can't just come in the party and go right to the top." Well, excuse me, I'm pretty sure Donald Trump did that. Came from nowhere,
Right.
went to become president, got attacked from every different direction. And won again in 2020, but the system was rigged, and then he came back in 2024. More powerful than ever, and I'm really excited about what's going on. And I think that's a concept that is following over, into the Georgia GOP. I think people feel like there's this potential watershed, moment where we could really get some things done.
And I think they're asking themselves, why are we not already behind some of these initiatives, pushing harder than they have seen? And they realize that some things have been left undone. Elections, follow through on, some of the things that the Trump started with, illegal aliens and so forth. We don't seem to be putting nearly enough pressure on these areas, and they see it, to their credit.
Right.
You may want to stay tuned for later in the show. We have a couple of surprises of our own that we're going to show that may bear fruit over the coming weeks. We'll wait and see, but we appreciate you being with us.
Thank you.
Thank you,
All
David.
right.
Appreciate you guys.
We'll see you soon. Okay. Did you want to take a break quickly?
Yeah. So we've got a few new sponsors. One of them is Alp. I'm going to run a new ad from Tucker Carlson. If you're a Zen user out there, try the non-woke product. Zen is extremely woke, but Alp is not. So here we go.
Since we launched Alp, we've had 4 flavors, but we are proud to announce Alp has a brand new flavor, one of several we'll be rolling out over the next year or so, and it is Sweet Nectar. I have personally tested this product 2 at a time, and it's excellent. Sweet Nectar, the new flavor out from Alp, really, really good. Go to alppouch.com. You can order it in bulk by the pallet if you want. I have strongly recommended Sweet Nectar. And stay tuned for more new flavors.
So alppouch.com/CDM. There we go. Bill's got his Sweet Nectar.
I don't have the Sweet Nectar yet, and I don't do 2 at a time.
I want to see you go, oh.
Sorry. We'll pass on that one.
All
right.
Right. Let's move into the next segment. Thanks.
Okay, very good. So other good news coming out of the upcoming GOP convention races. Brian Jack, who was elected as congressman on the west side of Georgia, has just endorsed Lisa Pierce. And Lisa Pierce, as you will recall, was one of those that was excluded, I guess I'll say, from the ballot at first. And then with enough public pressure and with enough scrutiny, they thought better of it and added her. And in fact, she then, just in the last couple of weeks, won at the GRA endorsement convention. She won her race and is doing very, very well. She posts daily about her life on her farm, the Misfit Farm. And if you're not following her, I recommend that you do. It is fascinating, and you'll get to know a lot about her life and lifestyle and her beliefs. So I hope that will help. One more piece of news that we thought we would be remiss in not covering. Once again, the Fulton County Commission has avoided approving Jason Frazier and now Julie Adams, both of whom were nominated by the GOP to take seats on the election board for Fulton County. So almost as if we don't care if you know that we're crooked kind of move Fulton County's commission says no. They said yes to the Democrat nominees. They said no to the Republican nominees. Astoundingly bizarre move. Ill-advised, I think I would say. And there will be likely lots of pushback on this. Hopefully this time they will think better of their stance and do the right thing and allow Jason Frazier and Julie Adams to take their rightful seats on the Board of Elections. One more time, we talked about the strange maneuverings because of the things that have been uncovered. And the more gets uncovered, the more pressure gets applied. And here's one of the really pinpoint pieces of pressure that's sitting on the current leadership of the Georgia GOP. Amy Kremer, who is one of the top 3 officials for Georgia's GOP. She is the RNC committee woman elected last year, asked a set of questions to Josh McCoon and to Karen Henschel. Karen Henschel is the accounting director, I believe is her title. And they're the ones who could answer these. And it delved into how are these funds spent? Well, who was the person that was on this piece of travel? Who is benefiting from, $5,000 investment in a media agent company? And that was submitted the first week of May. We are now sitting at the May 25th. And as of anything I've seen up through this morning, no response. So can you imagine? You get a question from the one of the top 3 people in the GOP in Georgia, and you don't provide any response at all.
That seems to be the MO. Just don't talk about what you're doing.
Well, it seems to be the MO, but do you not believe that we talk about grassroots, but Georgians are smart. Gosh, we've been doing everything we can to clue them in on these games for now, 3 years or more. They see this and they know what this means. When you can't answer a question, it means you don't want to answer the question. And so they don't want to answer these questions. Why is that? They don't like the answers. So I think more and more people are paying attention to these things, and we give a lot of credit to Amy Kremer and others just like her who are asking the difficult questions right now. Here's another one of them. That folder I held up a few minutes ago. This is one example of it. 4-page, 4-color, cardstock, varnished, beautiful deliverable, paid for by the Georgia Republican Party. Well, what's the purpose? Well, the purpose appears to be to, talk to people about what's going on in the Georgia Republican Party, but also say, gosh, what a great job did Josh do? And you can see right here that this was paid for by the Georgia Republican Party. Look at the names on the bottom: Joshua R. McCoon and Lori McLean. Ms. McLean goes out and the question becomes public. How did these get paid for and how much were they? Ms. McLean, who's the current treasurer of the Georgia GOP, answers, my name is on these mailers and I had no advance knowledge of them and no idea how much they cost. This is not how a well-run organization spends other people's money. That's exactly what it is. It is not, the money that's being spent to produce these types of things is not at the behest of Josh McCoon or anybody else that's running the Georgia GOP. It is supposed to be at the joint decision-making of folks like the state committee, the executive committee, and so forth, and occasionally, sometimes, maybe even at the full state delegation. The problem is they haven't held an executive committee meeting in going on a year. They haven't held a state committee meeting in going on a year. Why is that? Well, and then if they're not making the decision, who is? I think we can answer that by stating the chairman's name as Mr. McCoon. Here's another thing that Lori put out that we find interesting. You are supposed to have a background in finance in some respect to be considered as the treasurer for the Georgia GOP. She has a competitor for the treasurer slot. She is the only one, according to what she says here, that has the finance qualifications to even do the job. So we'll look further into that. We just spotted that this morning, but we would recommend people review this. And if that's true, this race should be over because you have to have the right qualifications to go for various slots in these elections. Now, for a surprise that we discovered literally just before airtime. We got a little bit of a hint when we looked at another person's reporting, their finance reporting. And one of the ways to do that is via a tool called Transparency USA. You heard David talk about the total money that was raised by the Georgia Republican Party in the 24 cycle. You see it right there. 23,100,000, and then expenditures were 24,000,008. The reason it was a little bit more, we had a little bit of money, I think, going into this particular finance cycle. But more importantly, where is it coming from? And we happened to, with a little bit of a hint, we stumbled across something that looked awfully familiar based on other work that we've seen some of our partners do. That page, and it's small, but we're going to put this up on the Georgia Record overnight, and you'll be able to see it tomorrow. That is a list of contributions beginning with by name, by the name of the donor, and then also ranking based on the size of the donation. That name that you see there is anonymous. Anonymous. And the amount, I believe, on that first page is $1. Might be even just 20 or 30 cents in some cases. Let me just peek at this. That begins with $1 and goes down through the page. So you can see this isn't even a full page. Okay, so they've got some anonymous donors. Big deal. Well, how many are there? At least 91 pages of them. 91 pages of anonymous donors at very small amounts. We're not going to necessarily speculate, but this does look a lot like something that one of our other guests has described, doesn't it?
It does, yes.
So we're gonna leave this where it is at the moment. Those that are involved are probably now taking a deep breath, going, "Uh-oh." 90 pages of anonymous donations in single dollars up to a very low number of dollars of donation. How could this be? And again, this is for the Georgia Republican Party, Inc. We'll see how they answer this one. All right. Let's see what else we have for today. I think that's about it in terms of what we wanted to cover for today. I know that you want to get to Dr. Thorpe's discussion, so let me toss it back to you.
Yeah, it is great. We're going to run it again. I decided to cut it short because there's another 15 minutes, 20 minutes or so. So we'll run that fully on the skiff, not tomorrow, but Tuesday morning at 10 a.m. Actually, the interview will probably run at 11 a.m. Tuesday or somewhere around there. So you can see the full thing then, and we'll also post it up on Rumble this week as well. I've got a couple things to go through, Bill, but what else do you want to, anything else you want to bring up?
I'm good for now. I know we're going to be doing more work on what we talked about already, and we will be catching up with other things going on as we get ready for the convention. So we'll have more on the next show.
Excellent. So I just wanted to talk about gold for a minute. Here's the chart. Recent gold is hitting all-time new highs. It's going to continue. We're not giving investment advice. We're not trying to, tell you where to spend your money. You need to talk with your own financial advisor. But it is our view, or my view, personal view, that this thing is going a lot higher, and you're just seeing the beginning of the resurgence in gold due to all the really just financial uncertainty in a variety of ways. And one thing you need to do if you have some assets is to participate in this, and you can do this if you go to cdmmetals.com. Here it is, and you just scroll down. It's formed with Advisor Metals. First of all, you can get your own precious metals investing guide for free from Advisor Metals. There's the CEO, how to purchase metals, but also you can fill out this quick form and they will call you. And I guarantee you it's a very easy conversation. But if you've got assets that are in the fiat assets, especially cash, etc., look at putting some in precious metals, even if it's just a temporary hedge for whatever else you're doing. Call Advisor Metals, talk to them, fill out the form, they'll call you, tell them we sent you, tell them CDM sent you, and he'll take care of you. It's a very pleasant experience. We've had a lot of really good feedback. And the last thing I wanted to do is just briefly mention my book, Currency. It is my first novel that came out. It's out via History of Books right now, historyofbooks.com, historyofbook.com. Actually, it's history of books. That's weird. That graphic is wrong. There's an S on it. But you can find it anywhere, or go to ltoddwood.com and I'll get you a signed copy. If you love historical fiction, this is the book for you, for that person who has everything. You'll learn a lot too. All right, Bill, that's all I got. Take us out unless you got something else.
No, that's it. We will see everybody on Wednesday evening at 7 or earlier if we've got something that just cannot wait. So watch GeorgiaRecord.com through the week. Watch Todd tomorrow morning at 10 a.m.
Yeah, let me just say tomorrow's Memorial Day. We're going to have a Memorial Day special. It's going to be a treat. It's not going to be a normal show, but you'll enjoy it on the Skiff at 10 a.m. tomorrow Eastern.
That's right. Okay, very good. All right, we will see you next time. Hang on, let me catch up over here, and we will see you soon.